Hey guys, so last week I talked about the composer side of the composer-performer collaboration, and this week I said I would talk about the performer side. And I'm going to warn you in advance, this is going to be a little bit ranty, and it's probably going to have some opinions that you don't agree with. And that's fine. And I'm open to having my mind changed. I'm open to discussion, and if you guys don't agree with me, I want to know why. The first thing that I saw was that people were complaining about very specific things that honestly they should have brought up with the composer. They were complaining about stylistic things, they were complaining about playability, and they were complaining about things that really could have been changed had they had a discussion with their composer. And yes, I talked about playability a lot in my composer video, but it isn't just the composer's problem. They don't know it's playable. If they don't know it's not playable, how are they supposed to fix it? If they don't know what the problem is, how can you expect them to be responsible for the problem? Yes, they wrote it, but they didn't know. They're trying things. They're learning. Even the most experienced composers make mistakes, write things that just aren't playable because they're trying to push boundaries and they're trying to create sounds that have never been heard before. And sometimes that means that what they put on the page isn't really doable. And that's fine. As long as you, as the performer, actually tell them that. And not just after the fact in a snarky way, but actually in the process of learning the piece when they still have time to fix it. And not just, hey, this doesn't work, and move on. Because that's not gonna help them. They don't know how to fix it. They made the mistake in the first place. But, hey, this doesn't work. I know what you were going for. Here's an option. Here are some more options. Here are some sounds that might work better that are a little bit easier to create. Hey, this section isn't super effective, but I'm fixing it by doing this. Or, I can't really figure out how to fix it. Do you want to talk about this? Do you want to have me play some things that you have come up with to try to adjust this section? Give them the chance to fix it, because 99% of the composers that you work with are going to be open to it. And there is that 1%, those are the composers that you don't work with in the future. Because the 99% that will work with you are incredible, and they want to get better. So put your time and effort into that. There's kind of a music school culture that you complain about student works, and I'm totally guilty of this. I'm never gonna deny that. But what I have learned is that I need to speak up. And not just because the pieces will be better, but also because that way they write better pieces later, so that the composers can learn and grow and get better. The performer's there to help translate the vision of the composer. And part of that is giving them the skills to be able to write what they want to. And you might say, but it's not my job to teach composers. But you know your instrument better than they do, and that's never gonna change. So why don't you share some of that information? The second thing is, there were a lot of people talking about the safety of their instruments, and I totally respect that, and I totally understand that. I have my limits too, but I also saw a lot of people who set their limits based on assumptions. Yes, there are techniques that can hurt your instrument, or that can damage your instrument, or just make it unplayable. But if you do your research and you figure out which techniques those are, there are a lot that seem like they might hurt your instrument that really don't. And I don't really want to go into specifics about this, but there are a lot of people who won't do certain sounds because they think it's gonna hurt their instrument, not because they know. And that's a very, very big difference. So do your research and then set your limits. And the last thing is something that I even chimed in on the original post, and that's the idea that it's not the performer's responsibility to provide composers multiple performances. And this is a bit of a mixed bag because there are certain situations where it isn't our responsibility. If we were contacted for a festival or to play a piece as a one-off, it's not really your job, though it's great if you can. That's something, if it's a piece that you enjoy and that you really, really like and you want to play it again, go for it. But if it's a piece that was written for you, especially if you commissioned it, that's part of your job. I'm sorry, it just is. There's a huge, huge issue with composers where they can't get their pieces played multiple times. And that means that they don't collect royalties off their pieces, and they also don't reach a broader audience. The reality is that most of us pick repertoire based on what we hear in concerts and what we hear our friends playing. And if no one's playing your work, no one else is gonna play your work. And if it's a piece that was written for you as a performer, that means that a composer spent hours of their time trying to write a piece that you would like, that you would sound good on, that would show off your skills, and that would be a fun, exciting thing for you to play. So why is it that performers think it's okay to just give it one performance and never play it again? Isn't it fair that we give these composers the same respect and give them the same number of hours of dedication that they gave to us? And yes, we do have to practice these pieces and we have to learn them, but honestly, if you have to premiere this piece, it means you're working on it. So why not put in like the 2 hours more and play it again? Once you've learned it, it's not that hard to learn it again. That's not always true for everything, but you asked someone to write this piece. It's really only fair that you play it more than once. Especially when you're playing a solo program, you have 6 or 7 pieces that you can fit in, and you don't have to play this piece every program for the rest of your life. I'm not saying that that's the case, but 3 or 4. And honestly, I would hope that you like the piece enough to want to play it again. Clearly, I'm very passionate about this subject, and it's why I do a lot of the things that I do, and it's why my projects are set up the way they are. I think that we can do more as performers to help our composer brethren out. They struggle just as much as we do, and while they have opportunities to get their music played and stuff like that, we still need to do better about helping them. Because honestly, a lot of them help us quite a lot. If you don't agree with me, let me know why. I'm really interested to see what people think about this subject. As always, if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and don't hate me now. And if you guys want to support me more, please check out my Patreon.